Starting out to make this bee skep, I'm using the top part of a small surprise egg I found at Walmart and the narrower of the 2 nautical ropes that Dollar Tree carries, and just applying my hot glue, not all the way around, but just enough so that the rope is secured and the shape is kept. As I got to the end of my first piece of nautical rope, I pulled off the tape and twisted the ends and added a bit of hot glue so that it would lay down smoothly. As I got closer and closer to the top, I found that twisting the rope tightly and then laying it down into the hot glue was the best method. And as I got to the very top, I found that adding a dab of hot glue and using the point of the detail scissors to tuck in the very ends of the rope gave it a finished look. I went back to where I started and added more rope so none of the blue egg would show. To make the handle, I just twisted the rope as tight as I could get it and held it down into the hot glue until it was secure. Then I moved on to adding jet black paint to add an entrance. While the paint was drying, I grabbed Dollar Tree beads and Gorilla Glue to make tiny bees to apply to my projects. When the paint was dry, I grabbed some more rope and hot glue, twisted the rope as tightly as I could, and just went around the spot where I painted black. With all the rope detail complete, I used a lighter to burn off any flyaways and fuzzies to make it look smoother. With the glue dry, I painted the bee heads black, then added a few stripes on the body of the bees. Using a piece of lace that I separated from a piece of burlap ribbon, I snipped and used a bit of hot glue, pinched together, and these became the wings for my honeybees. I repeated those same steps on the rest of the bees I put together, and now it's time to add a few of these bees to the skep. The bees really were the finishing touch. This looks fantastic. I have this wood hexagon piece from AC Moore, and I'm just going to cover it with a light coating of apple barrel white. Once the white was dry, I applied apple barrel matte khaki just to add very light distressing. Using a crafter's square stencil, I applied happy and the outer portion and used a bee stamp. With my stamp in place, I went ahead and used 2 of my honeybees that I made and glued them down. I meant to put BU and I put Be Happy. So I'm gonna take this scrap piece of wood and I'm gonna paint this yellow, and then I'm gonna put BU on here. I applied some more of the other stamps to the other sides just to make the block more interesting. I took a Dollar Tree clay pot and covered it with white apple barrel matte paint, but not full coverage. Once the white was dry, I took a bit of matte khaki from Apple Barrel and brushed that in to make the pot look a bit more aged, and used Park Lane stamps, a bee, a crown, and a little embellishment to place below the bee. I am going to add these daffodils to this pot. Then I added a honeybee to the top of the pot and a few moss stones to give it a more finished look. And using this little glass jar, I want to make Winnie the Pooh's Honey Pot. And of course, if I'm gonna have his honey pot, I must have Pooh. I found him and Tigger both at Dollar Tree. So I'm gonna paint this little glass jar with khaki. And then I use jet black to write on honey. And of course, one of the ends has to be backwards. And I thought it would be a nice touch to add some honey dripping out of the jar. So I'm using 3D paint I found at Dollar Tree just to outline some honey drippage and then fill it in. And I think this is just so adorable. I really love Winnie the Pooh. My oldest son, when he was a baby, his nursery was in classic Pooh. I just really enjoy all of the Disney characters. So I set the honey pot aside to let the 3D paint dry, and I took a scrap of dowel rod, paper bag, and a little bit of painter's tape and put it together so that I could make a small honey dipper, and just wrapping the paper around the top and securing it with some tape and then a bit of hot glue. I wrapped around some really thin twine that I found at the Dollar Tree and tried to keep it going as tight as I could so that it really resembled a honey dipper. And then once I got to the top, I did the same thing I did with the skip. I just secured it with some glue and tucked in the top. And then I took more of the 3D paint and put a little on the dipper so it looked like it had been inside of the honey jar. And here they are with the puff paint all dry, and I did add another bee to the top, just so cute. And here are a few bee items I found ready-made at Dollar Tree. I think I'll put a few of these in my tier tray. And here are all the projects together. Very happy with the end result of everything. And displayed on the tier tray. Thanks so much for watching.